So hey, I'm Brad Rhodes. As Matt mentioned, I am in my day job, I'm with Accenture Federal Services. I lead a 24/7 team that does cybersecurity for the entirety of the Department of Energy. I can tell you some fun war stories about that, right? In fact, some of my stories today may actually be tied to some of the stuff I've seen. I'm a colonel in the Army Reserve, a cyber warfare officer, and a whole bunch of other stuff. We'll get to that in a second. All right, just like any good presentation, because I'm an Army guy, we have an agenda. All right, so we'll touch on that, right? So there's a lot going on, and when I proposed this talk to Joe Billingsley and others for the board that was looking at it, they said, are you going to tie in cyber? And I go, information is all cyber, and all cyber is information, right? It really is. And so the good news is that we've actually written this down. So the Army actually wrote a really good publication, which I'll highlight for you. If you haven't read it, you should. Okay, and I stole graphics from it because I suck at drawing. This is me. Yeah, I do all sorts of stuff. It's fun. Way too many pro certs. Any amateur radio operators in the room? I always get this one thing right. If not, you should do that. You should totally do amateur radio, because when we think about the information environment, right, it is so much bigger than just ones and zeros, right? It's the RF space now, right? So I've done amateur radio for, 20 years now? Man, I'm old. All right, here's our primer. We'll get right into it, right? We have a world, everybody agree, we're living in the information age, right? When you go back through history, right, we had the Industrial Revolution, we had all this stuff. Now we're in the information age, right? Everybody here, and again, this is no fun, but I got two of these things. Whoop. Yeah, two of them, right? So everybody's got 1, 2, 3 sort of devices you wander about the universe with that connects you to what? Everything. Information. It connects you to your house if you've got the digital thing there, right? It's amazing, right? So when you think about technology, right, we have literally given the power of technology to the consumer who doesn't understand how it works, but they're happy to hook it up because now they can check their garage door from the other side of the planet. Right? Pretty amazing, right? It's amazing technology, but it's all powered by information, right? We have to ask ourselves, what do we trust? What do we trust? My daughter last night, I love the fact that my daughter actually sent me a thing. She's in a really interesting class in her last quarter at the University of Denver, and she said, Dad, I have to write a post about security and the future of security, and I got to tie in gender roles. Because I don't know what this class is. I have no idea what I'm paying for. I really don't. But I was like, so I thought about it and I said, well, what about deepfakes? And I said, think about what happened to Taylor Swift in February. And there's a whole law now that's being tied out to her and the fact that it was pornography that was made of her without her permission using deepfake AI. What do you trust? Right? Things to think about. Information is being manipulated right now. Oh Lord, I know I wasn't supposed to touch the screen. See, I broke it. Dang it. Okay, there we go. I got it. I fixed it. Don't touch the screen. Matt, where's Matt? Matt told me not to touch the screen, and I still touched the screen. I still touched the screen. So again, we're being manipulated. Okay, who here watched the Super Bowl? Right? Okay, do you know what the ads actually meant? You probably don't, but you probably do. But I'll do you one better. This morning on the way in, very, very early to help get things set up for HammerCon, I stopped at McDonald's. Okay, now, anybody been to McDonald's recently, right? I got the little breakfast. That's about the only time I go to McDonald's. When you make your order at McDonald's on the fancy digital screen, what does it say?
Please use the app.
It says, please use the app. But it also says, once you've made your order, it says, wow, that's a great order. That sounds like a tasty order, right? They're totally manipulating you. I'm just letting you know. Probably people are like, well, I ain't going to McDonald's anymore. Bad actors are out there. We know this, right? And worse, those bad actors are now figuring out how to interact with you via your personal emails. I have a story about that. Had to deal with that at DOE. Super fun. Okay, so things that you got to think about here. All right, the information environment. This is the document that I mentioned, ADP 313. If you're an Army person in the room, any Army people in the room? Woohoo, Army people, you need to read this. You've got to read it. I'm going to say this right now. Okay, I may be a little biased. This is one of the best pieces of doctrine the Army has written in 20 plus years. It is really, really good. I read it cover to cover in a day. It sucked me right in, and I was like, woohoo, information. Now, granted, I'm an information operations guy. I'm a cyber guy. I'm a space guy. I do multi-domain. That's what I do. This is great stuff. I love this graphic because it gets you thinking about what we have to deal with, right? The information environment spans air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace, right? I love the dimensions here. The dimensions came out of the information operations world, physical, information, and human. Darn it, there's those pesky humans in the way. Right? They're always there, right? If they didn't tell you this is a people business, I tell my grad students all the time, at the end of the day, you might be thinking you're fighting against technology, but you're actually fighting against the human that wrote the technology, right? And there's biases there and things you can exploit. But again, really, really great text, right? And it gives us the framework for this. I was thinking about this presentation last night, so I'm going to start on this one here. Out of FM 312, cyberspace, operations, and electronic warfare, there's a lot of stuff in here, right? But personas, physical, logical layer, that's kind of the way we look at things in the information environment. All of you here have multiple cyber personas. You're not schizophrenic, I promise, right? You're not hearing the voices. Maybe you do, I don't know. If you hear the voices, I can help you out with that. But when we're thinking about this, right, if you have LinkedIn, right, that's your professional persona, right? If you have the Instas, Facebook, God forbid TikTok. No TikTok users in here, right? We're going to get to TikTok in a minute, right? So you have all these different personas. Your bank looks at you as a dollar persona, right? Because they like the deposits you make and they make the interest and all that stuff, right? So all of those different personas. But really, when we think about the information environment, especially from a tactical Army perspective, I thought about this last night. I think I drew this graphic. I've been in the Army a long time. Like 26 years ago as a first lieutenant, I had to draw a graphic like this for an echelon above First Signal Brigade and explain all of this to somebody about why we were doing what we were doing. And I'm pretty sure I still have that graphic somewhere in the dark recesses of my basement back in Colorado. But when you think about this, all of this stuff is congesting the environment, right? It's all about the information here, right? Can I get information to operators in the field? Can I get information when we think about this is, looking and thinking more about large-scale combat operations in the homeland? Can I think in DSCA, Defense Support of Civil Authorities? Can I get information to the populace? Right? How do I do that? That's an important thing to think about here. And oh, by the way, the information fight is incredibly important. And our near-peer adversaries, Russia, China, are very much getting very good at that. They're planning for an information fight, which is the stuff that keeps me up at night. So there you go. So there's more of our framework here. All right. Here's what we're going to talk about in the information environment from a challenges perspective. Here's a shocker. States like to control information and access. Hey, do we have this presidential election thing this year, right? Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that, right? This is great. It's not great, right? So Ukraine is doing some amazing work in this space, if you weren't tracking that. Oh, yes, Kim Suki. We're going to talk about TikTok. TikTok is really, really keeping me up. Okay. When you get the slides, if you want the slides, hit me up, I'll get you the slides, right? It's got all the references in it here. But this graphic right here, right? In Russia, all things lead to and from Putin. Right? Everything center out from in Russia is driven by Putin. The narratives that Putin is doing against his own populace, right, to justify the Ukraine war is pretty darn scary and pretty darn advanced. Okay? They're using their press and everything like that. And the reason I bring that up, and when we think about the information fight, and we're not going to war with Russia anytime, but let's put a what-if scenario out there. What if we had to have direct conflict with Russia? And if we, the United States and our allies, rolled into Russia, not only are we dealing with the Russian military, but we're dealing with a populace that has been primed to dislike us from the beginning, right? And they've done it all through the power of information. Okay? China continues to China propaganda, censorship. China writes things in words and they put it on paper, and they wrote, like it's 2017 now, they wrote their draft of what they thought internet governance should be for the world. And it was funny, they wrote words in there. We believe that the internet should be free and open and democratically managed and stuff like this. And then in the next paragraph they said, but we think that sovereignty is really important, so stay out of our business, right? And they've been doing that very, very well. The graphics there you see from an information perspective, in terms of freedom on the net, China is 9th worst in the world and Russia is the 21st worst in the world. Not surprising or shocking to any of us. Okay? Russia has been actively trying to disconnect certain pieces of internet connectivity so they can control that narrative and information against their populace. And, oh, by the way, we gave them the tools to do it. So this is the PRC, so Safeguard Defend, or Safeguard Defenders, right? They're a nonprofit NGO that does human rights stuff. And in this sequence here in 2023, they said that China was violating people's human rights. China didn't like that. So they had like 200 plus, 260 plus fake accounts that were basically Twitter spamming Safeguard Defenders to keep people from reading their content, change people's minds. Right? You've seen the meme with the guy that says, whatever subject, hey, change my mind. That's what they were trying to do here in the public square that is X/Twitter. Right? But again, every single one of these tweets, reposts, was the exact same words and content. I'll note, China's really loud and they don't care. Right? So that's one of the things to think about here when we're dealing with threat actors like this. Oh, yes. The flags across the top are very important. In 2016, the big dog in the fight was Russia. We know this, right? Been there, done that, right? They did lots of disinformation and malinformation, which is good stuff. 2020, Iran showed up. Y'all know about this, right? Super fun. Iran showed up. They basically, here's what they were doing. It's great. They actually indicted 6 Iranian citizens and sanctioned them via the Department of Treasury, which is odd. But okay, I don't know how that worked, but bottom line is these Iranians stole voter rolls. They were publicly accessible, by the way, from some counties in Florida. And then they were literally crank calling these poor people and trying to intimidate them. Now, granted, this was small scale, but it just goes to show that you've got threat actors out there willing to do that. Worse, now I added the flag of China here. Why? Because about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said, hey, China, stay out of our elections. We see you doing it. They're taking the playbook right out of Russia, right? They're very good like this. But here's the thing, right? Russia, right, has specific aims in mind. China does not. China, from what I've been researching and looking at, all China's doing is stirring the pot, right? They love the Discord, right? Not the Discord servers. Everybody loves Discord. Discord's fine. I'm not saying Discord's bad. But the other Discord, right? They're playing the Discord against us, right? They love that, right? Because that means that they can sell more Huawei stuff, right? They can look the other way while we do this other stuff. Look at America's, it feeds into, so it does 2 things for China when we think about this, right? Their interference in our election, the discord they create, plays directly into their narrative on the world stage to say that democracy doesn't work. It is really scary, and it's being done with deliberate malice and forethought. It is absolutely disinformation and malinformation. Again, we're going to put tinfoil hats and stuff at the end of this, right? All right, it's not really, I put quotes around this because it's not really the new electronic frontier, the electronic warfare frontier. We have been doing this stuff for a long time. It's just now coming to light, okay? Don't be the Russian soldier who geotags your photos and posts them on social media, right? Because you know what happens? Steal on target, right? That's happened. Right? This one is really cool. This one is really cool. So, again, pull out my phones. Right? So, if you're a Russian soldier, and it sucks, right? I mean, we're basically watching World War I trench-type warfare all over again in Ukraine, on the Eastern Front out there. So, Ukraine, though, is really smart. They have created these, we'll call them COWs, cell phone towers on wheels. We had cell phone towers on wheels in Afghanistan when I was there so that we could turn on communications and annoy the Taliban, because the Taliban at night would turn off the cell phone capability so they could run amok. Super awesome, right? So this one's kind of fun. Ukraine has built these cell phone towers on wheels that aren't connected to any network. All they are meant to do is pick up the pings from the cell phones, triangulate them, and those cool little, drones, the little bomblets on it, and hits Russian soldiers, right? Now, in the Army, because the Army's awesome, right, what are we doing? We're doing BYOD, right? Right? If you hadn't heard, public service announcement, where's my Army people at? Public service announcement. Reservists, guardsmen in here? Okay, cool. So if you didn't hear, A365 access goes away on the 1st of June on commercial networks. You have to have AVD or Hypori to get access to your stuff. There's no more commercial access. Netcom's turning it off. We knew this was coming, right? But think about this right now. Am I going to take this to war? Right? Scary, right? This is, and oh, by the way, worse, right? A lot of the newer cell phones that are coming out have an emergency satellite communications capability embedded, right? So now we really can't take these to war because they're going to beacon out and it's like that, right? It's just very quick. Starlink, right? Hey, did you know that Russia's using Starlink? Yeah. They're not supposed to be using Starlink, but they are using Starlink because they bought it through some third party that was willing to sell it to them. The Ukrainians are using Starlink, right? Russia has been for the Ukrainian side, Russia has been jamming the heck out of Starlink, right? Which drives to when we think about broader our use of satellite communications capability, right, in military operations, right? That's a huge factor there. That was something that I dealt with in Afghanistan, was paying attention to that kind of stuff. But now it's even more challenging. And then, of course, you've got all things RF, right? 5G, open networks, things like that, right? All of these things are being used as part of the electronic warfare in the information warfare fight. It's happening right now, right? And we have not really grasped that, right? The good news is, from the Army perspective, anybody been to like a Taj Mahal, where you got 12 tents and it's huge and antennas and all this kind of stuff, right? Well, the Army's decided we're going back to World War II, where General Bradley drove around in his truck, right? And he had a couple trucks and that was it. They're actually starting to go back to that. It's crazy how old is new again. Ukraine went so far as to provide a Ukrainian, I keep hitting this thing. I don't want to touch the slide. Go back one. Ukrainian, this one here, boop, right? They have an entire instruction set for people, for their soldiers, right? When they're using their cell phones close to the front. Like this one right here, right? Get 400 or 500 meters away from your squad position, right? This is crazy, right? They have to tell their soldiers how to use their smartphones in combat, right? We don't have anything like this in the United States Army. That's why my little thing right here, don't take your cell phone to war, right? We don't have that, right? But we're going to have to. We're going to have to. In the large-scale combat operations, right, where everybody's looking to hoover up all of the signals that are out there, right, we are going to have to rethink this for the United States military. Kim Suki and the scientists. Oh, yes. Okay. Tactic of social engineering. The technical piece here is DMARC. So DMARC allows you to check the header information and domain information. It's an open source thing. It's really, really great. If you don't have it turned on your email systems, you should. Right? This is how we catch phishing and spear phishing. So you can see these really nice little emails here. You're saying, hey, Brad, why is Baby Shark on there? Kim Suki doesn't just sing the Baby Shark song. They had a piece of malware called Baby Shark. So there you go. It's kind of fun. But the bottom line is that the way this has been working, and we've seen this in a lot of places across the FSEB, so the federal civilian executive branch agencies, scientist X, expert Y, whoever gets an email on their Gmail account or their Yahoo or God forbid AOL. See, I know I get a laugh out of that one, right? They get an email and it says, hey, Dr. So-and-so, you are a recognized expert in nuclear security or a recognized expert in transportation systems or something like this. We would sure love for you to come and talk to our conference. Sounds great, right? Everybody likes to be recognized. That's the hook, right? And so what's happened is across the board, we've seen people click on that, right? They go to the link or they send them their work email, worse, right? And then they start getting these email on their work email and the droppers try to come in. It's crazy, right? So this is North Korea, by the way, right? So they're very, very good at this, right? That's really the only way they're getting in here, right? So DPRK, right? All of that stuff, right? So again, technical controls, people controls, you've really got to put that thought process into this broader information environment discussion. Oh, Lord have mercy, TikTok. So I got to be on the forefront of this. This was fun. I helped with this at DOE. 2024, though, has been a banner year for TikTok. They spent, what's the going rate for 30-second ads at the Super Bowl? Like $1.5 million? TikTok had 3 of them. Right? I want you to think about that. This is the information age. I was thinking as I was going through my slides last night, saying, "Wait, what words am I going to say?" It hit me. I was like, you have ByteDance, a foreign-owned company. Not saying it's capitalism at its finest, right? I don't care if they spend their money on Super Bowl ads, but it's the principle here, right? They spent $4.5 million-ish on 3 30-second ads during the Super Bowl. Don't get me started on how those ads were so exploitive of different kinds of people, but that's an entirely different analysis. But this is ByteDance, which is directly associated with the PRC and the CCP, right? Scary stuff, right? And they're advertising at the biggest sporting event pretty much in the world. Somebody's going to argue with me. Where's the football fans out there? The soccer fans? Any soccer fans out there, right? Okay, I'm not getting an argument. Yay, okay, cool. But it literally, like the largest thing, so literally they bought things, right? And then the groundswell of we need to ban TikTok in the United States. This is bad. People started to realize what TikTok really is, right? It's what China stated it would be, a population control tool. They wrote this in their doctrine, by the way, right? A population control tool. It's influencing, Americans. But when they started talking about this, TikTok, no kidding, sent direct messages to I want you to think about this. They sent direct messages to 170 million Americans. Right? And worse, they used the algorithm to send you your congressmen and your senators and their phone numbers to call them. Popped up if you had TikTok on your phone. I want you to think about that. This is a foreign government and a foreign-owned company that is directly messaging the citizens of the United States. This is the stuff that keeps me up at night. And now they've sued. I love that part, right? We're going to sue the United States government. You're violating your own citizens' free speech. This is pretty epic. This would not have happened 20 years ago, right? This is epic. This is the times we live in. But again, what else is on that app, right? This is the thing. Again, 170 million Americans, right, didn't do the risk assessment and put this on their phones, right? What else does it do? Where is all that information going? We know where it's going, right? But this is the information environment we've got to pay attention to. And last piece, yes, like I said, I mentioned that up front with my daughter. I'm looking at my time. Deep fakes, right? When Ukraine started, right? This is a terrible deep fake, by the way, right? It was like they could have done better. It's like, do better, Russia, Deep fakes, right? They basically they snipped basically President Zelensky's head, put it on a body, made it talk, I am surrendering on behalf of Ukraine. I have left the country, blah, blah. It was terrible, right? It was ferreted out really, really quick. Worse, right? We had the Wagner Group and Prigozhin's merry band of, bad people during the 2016 elections, right, that were doing manual work in terms of trolling. Russia's just going to move all that to artificial intelligence, machine learning enabled capabilities, right? How do you figure that out, right? How do you, when you think about the information environment, how do you understand what's actually true and what's actually not? Again, what do you trust? And if you really want to try this, you can actually go to tools. There's a bunch of tools out there. FakeU is one of them, right? Where you can actually do voice. FakeU.com, it's a voice thing. You can actually put in the thing, and it's pretty darn close to sounding like a real human. You can test it out. Don't get an account. Just do that. It's not like ChatGPT, though, right? ChatGPT, just if you give stuff to ChatGPT, you're just giving it all your intellectual property and good ideas to the entirety of the internet. God bless you, and you're teaching the engine new things. But this one's interesting, right? Because again, these tools are freely accessible to you and to all the people out there across the world, right? So I would predict that we're going to see more and more of this, right? I believe that this election is going to be attempted to be influenced by things like deepfakes, AI, ML, right? When we think about how social media creates echo chambers in the information environment, right, in and through cyberspace, right? How do you know it's real? How do you know it's not? Right? And all of you here, right? You're here this morning at HammerCon to learn about these things and get smarter on these things, right? But you all need to be evangelists. You need to go back and tell your families, tell your coworkers, right? That thing, tell them to use their cyber Jedi senses. If it doesn't feel right or doesn't feel real, it probably isn't, right? As humans, we don't trust that gut enough. All right, some parting thoughts. In large-scale operation, see, I got to stop touching the screen. In large-scale combat operations, that's where we're moving to away from counterinsurgency type stuff, and DISCA, Defense Support of Civil Authorities, right? Information is really fires, right? It should be part of the effects that we deliver in the battle space. I wrote a paper for MCPA in the magazine on information operations in DISCA. You can do it, by the way, totally legally. Right, is something to think about, right? DISCA, we have to pay attention to the information environment, because if a bad disaster happened in the United States, if you don't think Russia and China and other actors aren't going to be in there stirring the pot to make things difficult for the responders in a large-scale conflict, a large-scale response effort, you're wrong. We've seen it already. In the West, remember, you're the product in the information environment. We all want Amanda's data and Craig's data and Matt's data, right? Because that's how we send you ads, right? That's what we do. We want to make sure that all works, right? We want to send you the right ads. And so, don't know what you're buying today on Amazon, but maybe you do after you get the right ad, right? Elsewhere in the world, right? You're the target. Absolutely. And I've talked over the years about at some point, right, threat actors were going to get personal. They are. Right? They are now, right? Because, why? Because as we've gotten better at collective cyber defense, right, where's the next logical place for them to go? You, your friends, your families, your companies. Russia and China are building capabilities and capacities to deliver effects in the information environment. And honestly, we've got a long way to, we think about cyber defense. We really should back that up and think about information defense, right? It's a challenge, right? Because this is really nebulous, intellectual stuff. I'm all jacked up on caffeine, and it's exciting to me this morning. But seriously, this isn't easy stuff to think about, right? We're talking about, whole populations being, messaged directly by a foreign-owned company and manipulated at the same time, right? We have to have a larger view here, right? And here's the real bottom line in all of this. And I heard this from a 2-star about a week and a half ago now, 2 weeks ago. We don't have mass anymore. Right? So back in the day, my dad, God rest his soul, passed away last year. He was a Vietnam veteran and a helicopter pilot. And so he saw all sorts of crazy stuff. But in Vietnam, what did we do? If we were going to take out a squad, we sent a platoon. If we were going to take out a platoon, we sent a company, and so on and so forth. Right? We always made sure we had mass. Right? If you look at tomorrow's fight, we don't have mass, right? If we had to deal with, a large-scale combat operation against China, right? Not that we're doing that. I'm absolutely not saying that we're, but in hypothetical, right? We don't have mass anymore. We just don't. And so we've got to get the information fight right, right? We've got to get the cyber fight right, because that's where this is all going to start. Okay? So it's very, very important to consider that in all that you do. And I think if I did it right, well, look at me, I had maybe like one question if there's a question. But thanks, HammerCon. I'll be around all day. You'll find me around. I'm gonna take this off and have my troll shirt on. But thanks so much for the time and this. And like I said, find me on LinkedIn, right? We can have a chat later, that kind of stuff. But thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day here at HammerCon.